Good morning and welcome to the Sports Carnival, broadcasting live from the Trauma Center studios. Remember, don't sweat the petty things and don't pet the sweaty things. Here's your host, Dave Carney.
Well, unless you're petting my sweaty bald head because it just looks so shiny and iridescent that you just can't help yourself. I'm okay with that sometimes, Chad. I know you're not a big toucher. I'm all right with it. If people want to PDA me up, I'm fine. I'm just fine. In most cases.
You go ahead.
I will. I'll take all the PDA that you don't want, and you can just leap it. Or just, what could you say? Heap it onto my shoulders. I'll take that. Sweaty as my head may be. How you feeling today, big guy? We were all concerned about you yesterday. You hanging in there?
I'm all right. I've had better days.
Did you end up going to your regular job yesterday, too? Did you go to work?
I did.
You're a champion. You're a rock star. Did you have better clock management, though, than Jeff Saturday did yesterday evening for the Indianapolis Colts against the Pittsburgh Steelers? You see that, man? Like, this is the first crack in the armor of the Jeff Saturday Coach of the Year.
I don't know why he didn't call timeout.
He had 3 timeouts.
I don't know what he was doing there.
Like, seriously, if you have to, okay. And again, I realize Jeff Saturday is recently from a broadcast booth, but do you know the kind of grief that Jeff Saturday would be giving guys this morning for not calling timeouts when they had 3 of them banked when you're driving after 2 plays? And if you didn't see Monday Night Football last night, I'm sorry, we're jumping right into it. After 3 plays that didn't work, like if you know that 3 plays, like Matt Ryan scrambling for 14 yards wasn't a designed play. That's not Jalen Hurts. So if I'm Jeff Saturday, I'm thinking, this isn't exactly going as scripted. Even if you knew what you were going to call, I'm still going to tee it up. So listen, Jeff Saturday's been on, he's been on one of these romantic sort of a fairy tale starts to his career, right? Like, because nobody thought he'd even win a game. So he beats the Raiders. He nearly gets a win over the now 10-1 Eagles. And then we see what happened last night. You're like, okay, this is why maybe you coach a couple of games before you get your shot in the NFL.
I have to be honest with you. I started watching the game, and then it became, I was like, is Monday Night Football MNF? Is it Monday Night Field Goal? There for a minute, I was thinking, and I was like, okay, I can't.
That's fair.
So I flipped away for a while, and then I came back, and I did end up watching the fourth quarter. And yeah, there was some really bad time management going on there by Jeff Saturday. I don't know why, or and even I think Troy Aikman was mentioning, and he goes, I don't know if there's some guys up in the booth that are helping him or not helping him, but yeah, I don't know what you're doing. When Joe Buck sounds like the voice of reason, even Joe Buck was like, what, timeout? Anybody? Timeout?
See, I was playing bingo while watching Monday Night Football last night, which, by the way, I had a very successful night on the bingo card as well as on my daily play, which we'll get to. So I wasn't listening Troy and Joe go back and forth on this game. I was just watching it. And as it was unfolding, without the aid of them saying, is anybody helping? It did dawn on me when you asked the question, is anybody there to help him? Dude, they fired everybody. Like they fired all the coaches, remember?
Yeah.
Like they had to bring the guys up from the video room and some that were in the equipment locker and said, you know what? You're going out here. It's time for you to suit up. And that to me was just one of those early tells that Jeff Saturday wasn't ready for prime time, at least not yet. Not to say he can't be a good coach because he's been off to a good start. But that was a real blunder. I mean, it really was. That's coaching 101. That's coaching malpractice when you don't call a timeout with 3 there. And to Eric's point, Eric from Turtle Stack Brewery, yeah, if we didn't pet sweaty things, we probably never would have become friends. But that's a story for a different day. We'll do that on the first overtime. How about that, Chad? When we end up going to overtime, which won't be today, then we'll talk about how EJ and I are just a fan of petting sweaty things.
All right, I can do that.
Okay. All right. Neil Duda's up and at it this morning. The DJ Duda, the Eminem of the La Crosse region. What's up with you, big guy? How you doing? Neil was cutting a rug up there at the Jailhouse Saloon on Saturday. Big time. I wouldn't say band because it was just a single artist, but big time show up there at the Jailhouse. And DJ Neil Duda in the house.
The Jailhouse Saloon. That sounds interesting.
It was interesting. Cool area up there too. Centerville, place I'd never been before a couple of weeks ago. And heck, it seems like it's becoming a semi-regular stomping ground for me.
Is there some good action going on up there?
There's good action going on everywhere in the state of Wisconsin, buddy. There's good action going on everywhere in the state of Wisconsin. Somebody that knows that for sure is popping up here this morning on the program, Jeremy P12 Foreman. I don't think
he's talking about their offensive coordinator, which was also somebody they did mention last night. who was their assistant quarterback coach, and now is calling plays. Yeah. And it's just the whole thing is really interesting, and it's kind of fun to watch in some respects, and then it's puzzling in others. It's like an experiment that's happening live. We're witnessing it. It's interesting.
Absolutely. I was going to say there's no probably better descriptor than experiment. We're watching this live. It's going to be really interesting to see if they just give Jeff Saturday this job, how they're going to go around the Rooney Rule, because I've been thinking about that too. You know that Jim Irsay wants to hire Jeff Saturday, right?
Sure.
Yeah. He ain't going to try to fuck around with no logistics. Like, put my guy in here. I got to get back to the bar. Okay. We've got things to do. And in that respect, I just wonder how they're going to get around this, because they're going to have to figure something out. To Jeremy P12 Foreman's point here, maybe they end up hiring like a really good offensive coordinator. Maybe that's how they get around it and say, hey, you were up for the job, but we'll make you the offensive coordinator. Maybe would Eric Bieniemy leave to go coach with Jeff Saturday and like get a real chance to call plays, because Andy Reid's getting all the play call love, and Andy Reid still, according to what we know, calls the plays for Kansas City. So would that be a place for Eric Bieniemy to get a job and then maybe take over if Jeff Saturday doesn't work?
I was going to say, if anything, if Eric Bieniemy is going to leave that situation, he might as well leave for the head job, right? I mean, the other problem,
he might not get one.
If you're looking at the Colts, you also got to be going, what are we doing at quarterback? Matt Ryan is, man, he struggled yesterday. He especially the first half, he really struggled, and Sam Ehlinger isn't the answer either. So, I mean, they're definitely in trouble when it comes to quarterback position. So if I'm guy looking at a head coaching job, and especially if I'm Eric Bieniemy, and if it's a lateral move to become a coordinator, I don't know if that makes sense to me.
Well, again, I'm not sure it would be completely lateral if you went and took an associate head coach job with the offensive coordinator and play call duties, because that seems to be one of the knocks on why Bieniemy doesn't get a job as the head coach, because he doesn't call plays.
Okay.
I don't know that that's the answer. I'm just wondering how they're going to get around the Rooney Rule, because you know that Jim Irsay is just going to try to hire Jeff Saturday. Like, you know, that's going to be the deal. He's not going to want to go through some exhaustive interview process. He just fired a real coach and all their staff in the middle of the season. You know,
I'll tell you this. I'm old enough to remember Eric Bieniemy playing college football at Colorado.
He was Colorado.
A stud. I remember I remember distinctly how big his legs were. I just remember thinking about that when I was a kid. He had these massive tree trunk legs, and I don't know how. I think he's kind of a shorter guy, but he was a really good, dominant college running back in the late 80s, early 90s.
You betcha. He was. Speaking of Colorado, Deion Sanders has confirmed to media outlets that he's been offered the job at Colorado after a couple of seasons at Jackson State. We'll see if he takes it. I think he'd probably wait for a Big 5 or a Power 5 conference school to come calling. Listen, we're going to step aside, take our first break. Want to thank our sponsors, the Recovery Room. We're broadcasting live from the Trauma Center studios. Don't forget the Recovery Room tomorrow night, 6 to 10. We've got our big Bucks ticket giveaway party. We've also got TVs, cash, and tons of swag. Kyle Cable, One Trust Real Estate, my realtor, and it should be yours if you're in the market to buy or sell a new home. Preferred Insurance, downtown La Crosse. Our good buddies Tony and Brian, they will help you out if you've got needs for your auto, for your home, or for your business. And, of course, the Midwest Mortgage Team, Todd Vercuzzi the Coos, and Mike Garcia. Guys, thanks so much for everything. We'll be back in about 1 minute here on the Sports Carnival. Stick around.
What can I say? The Recovery Room on 7th and Mississippi Street is not only my favorite bar in all of downtown La Crosse, Wisconsin, it's my favorite restaurant in all of downtown La Crosse, Wisconsin. Breakfast served 8 to noon, Saturday and Sundays, daily specials, incredible cocktails, and the best damn wait staff in the entire city. My buddy Matt knows how to treat you right, and that's why when you go to the Recovery Room on 7th and Mississippi, you're always going to have a great time and a great meal with a great cocktail. So if you haven't been in a while, or perhaps you're just regular and you want to stop in again, make it a thing. I'm there every single week. How about you?
Coming to the Discovery Channel this fall, Living with a Confederate.
Hi, my name is Travis Tay. A lot of folks around here call me Tay-Tay. Yeah, I share a house with my second cousin. Name's Chandler. He's what some folks around here call eccentric.
Why, hello there. Allow me to introduce myself. I'm Chandler Worthington III, and I must admit, them Northerners, they get under my skin. Make me hot under the collar, you know, with all that Northern aggression and everything. I always say, you boys just keep your Yankee doodles out of my sweet potato pie. At least for now, anyway. That's my little joke. I mean, stars and bars may fill my heart, but hopefully, a chiseled chin and a barreled chest fills my loins.
See what I'm saying? I gotta deal with that 24/7.
I'm getting the vapors just thinking about them northerners coming down here on their big old steeds.
Confederate
Yeah.
Broadcasting live from the Trauma Center studios, this is the Sports Carnival. You know, honesty may be the best policy, but it's important to remember that apparently, by elimination, dishonesty is the second best policy. Now, here's your host, Dave Carney.
Welcome back to the Sports Carnival. The reason that we've titled this, at least on Podbean, where we stream our audio live, Wisconsin Sports and Too Much Fun, is for that very reason right there. Chad, the producer, in the house, coming correct. You weren't feeling great yesterday. You must have been feeling good enough. That was a sweet little piece you gave us.
I actually did that over the weekend when I wasn't feeling horrible. I did nothing last night other than watch football.
Oh, well played. Well played, my friend. Appreciate your efforts. And listen, for those that are new,
like field goals, though. I don't know if I told you. I really enjoy watching field goals.
It's interesting because you thought that when you were going to the video store, you were looking for FG movies. You thought that meant field goal movies. It turned out it was feel good movies.
My God.
And you came home with, 50 first dates. You thought, hey, this isn't bad. This isn't bad. Speaking of 50 first dates, it feels like Matt LaFleur, as head coach of the Packers, Chad, has been on like 50 first dates with Aaron Rodgers, right? His first 3 seasons, 13 wins apiece. This year, the Green Bay Packers currently are worse record-wise than the Detroit Lions are right there with them.
Wow.
Worse
Think about
than
what you just said. Hold on. Think about what you just said. And the honest truth about what you just said is, in actuality, the Detroit Lions are better.
Yeah, the Detroit Lions are better right now. I mean,
despite the records, they're better either way.
The Steelers are better than the Packers right now, who the Steelers we unfortunately had to watch last night on Monday Night Football and play against Jeff Saturday and incorrect clock management Colts. But listen, the Packers, because of this, and the reason I'm going to this, it still feels like Matt LaFleur, Chad, and we've talked about this recently. What do the Packers need to change? It feels like Matt LaFleur and Aaron Rodgers have still been trying to figure each other out, like get on the same page. And I know they say the right things when they're at the podium or in the press room, for the most part, that they like each other. They have a great relationship. He's handsome. I'm handsome. We're both good-looking guys. The world is perfect. Swell. Well, Matt LaFleur needs to grow a pair, because yesterday Matt LaFleur, when asked if Aaron Rodgers was going to play against the Bears, said, yeah, sure. If he wants to play, like he if he's good enough to go, and yeah, we've got to play him. Fuck that, man. This dude doesn't need to play anymore for the Green Bay Packers. Now, the question that I've got for you guys and gals on our Twitter feed at the Sports Carney and on our Facebook group page is simply that if you were the head coach, not him, if you were the head coach, what would you do? And Chad, 78.6% of those that have chimed in on our Twitter feed right now at the Sports Carney say sit Rodgers and play Love. This is becoming almost asinine, because the organization needs to see what they have in Jordan Love. They need to see this. They have to. You need to do what you can to protect your future. And if that includes Aaron Rodgers, then that means he needs to be sat down, because if he is afraid of puncturing his own lung and basically taking himself out of a football game, right? That's what happened. He essentially took himself out of a football game because he didn't feel well and thought that he was going to puncture his lung. That's a problem. And his thumb isn't feeling good either. Not bad enough to get surgery, of course, because that would be a real problem, but bad enough to make it a viable excuse. And this scenario for the Green Bay Packers happened almost exactly 10 years ago, like right now, when Brett Favre was leaving Green Bay. And it was a little bit longer than 10 years, but you get my point. It was, 10, 12, 13 years. He was leaving Green Bay. The Packers had, I don't know, a few games left to see what they had in Aaron Rodgers before the season was over, right? And they did, because they knew that that was the smart thing to do, and you had to do it because you had to see what your future was. Now, Jordan Love's not going to be confused with Aaron Rodgers anytime soon, and probably never will even be in the conversation, but that's not the point. This is like incumbent on the organization now, at least in my estimation, to turn the page of this season. Maybe not next year or the year after, but at least this season, you've got to make this move. And if you don't, and you're Matt LaFleur, I have a hard time I have a hard time understanding how you're going to be able to go into that locker room next year and tell these guys you've got what it takes. Because if Aaron's not there, say he retires or they have to trade him, well, what the fuck now? What now?
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to look at it as what it is. It's a business, right? They're assets. You got appreciating and depreciating assets. You have to figure out which one is what, and at the very least, you have to look at Aaron Rodgers as an asset that is damaged currently and can damage himself further. So why wouldn't you want to protect that? And then at the same time, you want that other asset, Jordan Love, to see what he's capable of. And granted, it was a small sample size the other night watching him, but I thought he looked pretty good. Now, granted, he wasn't getting the normal pressures, and they were playing cover 2 and all those kinds of things. And it wasn't, maybe the best test, but I think he looked pretty good. And if you really still think that you have a shot the rest of the season to get the playoffs, you're fooling yourself. So that's over with. So you might as well protect your Aaron Rodgers, your asset, and bring in Jordan Love, see what he can do, and then you go from there. Maybe he continues after this. Maybe you're able to up his value in the trade market. Joe DeGuano talked about it yesterday. They're in a bit of a pickle because he thinks that may be too much exposure, and then maybe his value would go down, which is a possibility. But you have to take that shot.
Well, it's like this. After so many years of not playing football, when, let's say, your quarterback is injured and you have a viable excuse to not play the starter, right? If you're going to go through multiple seasons of this, you can tell me something without telling me something. So you can't hide it. It's not like it's some sort of, I don't know, artifact or antique that you're just hoping nobody exposes the fugazi in this, right? The NFL's not a bunch of idiots. If you don't play a guy like Jordan Love that's a first-round draft pick, when you've got viable reasons to play said player when the other player is injured, then you're telling me all that we need to know. And the trade market won't be hot for this. It's not like Brian Gutekunst is going to go in there and deal and, hey, I've got this diamond in the rough. No, you don't, because Aaron Rodgers was on one arm with no ribs. Look, there's nothing else the Packers can do about this situation. And Joe's been talking about it since the day that Jordan Love got drafted. To go back to that, the day that Jordan Love, well, prior to that, it was a Thursday. I'll never forget the first round of the NFL draft set up for later that evening. And I asked Joe, what's the one player, not the one position, what's the one player you would not want to see the Packers take? And he said, Chad, Jordan Love, because he had heard the rumblings. He said that player, not position. He didn't have a problem with taking a quarterback, just that player. So there's already the tie that binds Gutekunst to this guy. What that brought out of Aaron Rodgers to me, if that's 2 consecutive MVPs, a trip to the NFC Championship game, and a postseason appearance, that's still a pretty good get for a first-round pick. Now, that's not the way that you want to look at it. You want to see that player produce on the field. But if it prompted Aaron Rodgers to those heights, when it surely looked like he was on the decline, which is why they drafted Jordan Love in the first place, if that prompted Aaron to take that final big leap, then I'm okay with that as a Packer fan, because we got 2 MVP seasons from Aaron Rodgers. But this ain't that season. And this season, like you've mentioned, as far as the postseason
is over. It's over. Come on.
It
was over a couple of weeks ago, and we kept playing this game. Well, 6% chance. Come on. Really? Don't give me this. If you're doing the mathematical thing, there's a problem. And the NFC is way too stacked for that. I mean, come on. There'd be it's like a lottery ticket situation here. It's not happening.
Well, what's the record for San Francisco now? 7-4, right?
Yes.
Do you think that that's a 7-4 football team? When you watch San Francisco shut out the New Orleans Saints. Now, I know New Orleans isn't.
They're better than their record shows. I would say that's true.
Way better than their record shows. I wouldn't take the Packers right now, to be honest, against any team in the NFC that's got. I'm trying to think of who is worse than the Packers right now. The Broncos are, the Texans are. I'm struggling to think of who is worse right now than Green Bay when it comes to just straight down the line football. The special teams for the Packers has been atrocious. The defense can't stop a nosebleed. Yeah, they put up 33 points, but it was like Philadelphia. This is why I don't know that Philadelphia is a real 10-1 team either, right? They don't necessarily feel like the most dominant team in the NFL. It's hard for me to say that, because as much as we love the Packers, and especially me, this year, like falling in love with these guys in a whole different way. this is over, and it's been over for, like you've said, weeks and weeks and weeks. And to go back to our poll question, which is on our Twitter feed at the Sports Carney or on our Facebook group page, Matt LaFleur said he's going to play this guy if he's good to go. What would you do if you were the head coach? What would you do? Would you sit Rodgers or would you play him? Looking over on our Facebook group page here, Chad, we're getting votes in on this, as well as our Twitter feed. 68-32 say sit Rodgers and play Jordan Love, because that's the right answer. That's the right answer. There really isn't a whole lot of other ways to look at this. And if you're going to tell me the guy has earned the right to play, stuff that shit in a box. Again, Joe Montana got traded. Peyton Manning was cut by the Indianapolis Colts, right? Nobody deserves anything. If you can't help your team, you've got to go sit down. Look at what the Jets did. Bold move to bench a number 2 or 3, whatever it was. Zach Wilson's the number 2 overall draft pick. Sorry, kid. Go take a seat. Watch the game from the sidelines. Does that hurt your feelings? I bet you it does. I bet you.
Yeah, but it's also a motivator, though. It's also a motivator when you do that, right? That gets guys going. I mean, look what. So yeah, Peyton Manning got cut. He went to the Denver Broncos. He ended up winning a Super Bowl, right?
Yes,
so I mean, it can motivate you that way too. It can help you. And won 2 of them. Yes, exactly. And this Mike White guy's got an opportunity for the Jets, and he made it work for him in the rain. The guy was in the rain, throwing darts. I mean, it was pretty impressive. I think you got to give Love a chance here. I mean, you got to give Peace a chance. You got to give Love a chance. I'm actually kind of excited to see it. Not to mention you're kind of going to be playing a banged up Bears team, right? And I know that Aaron Rodgers owns the Bears or whatever. This would be a good opportunity. Then you go into the bye week, and then maybe 2 weeks from now or whatever, maybe Aaron wants to come back and play. Who knows? I think that it would be best if he just puts the season away, lets Jordan take the rest of the season, and then they go on from there. That's, to me, would be the best thing that they could do. Aaron Rodgers gets rested up for next season.
If the Green Bay Packers were owned by an individual owner, if they didn't have a collection of governors, if Mark Murphy wasn't an executive as opposed to somebody who had complete and utter control of the team, that would be the call. I can almost assure you that would be the call, because from a pure financial perspective, this guy is owed $100 million in
real $100 million asset.
Yes, it's $100 million asset. And because of that, sometimes, and this is why we have coaches, this is why we have executives, this is why kids have parents, which is, something that today seems to be going by the wayside, because you're allowing your kid to tell you exactly what they want to do. The reason that we have control over kids until 18, the reason there are coaches and the reason there are executives, because we need people in positions of authority from time to time to be able to not tell us what to do, but to help us not hurt ourselves. And it's not like every football player, Chad, you know this better than me, wants to basically die on the field in many respects, right? You want to be carted off. Look at what Tom Brady's doing right now. He was like, dude, I'm going to say fuck you to my wife, go play football with my friends in the park during COVID. I'm going to still do this because I want to. He's going to have to be taken away from the game of football. And I'm sure Rodgers is like that too, but you've got to protect these guys against themselves at times. And I know that what you mentioned about the Bears is something that comes into play. Jimmy Namath was chiming in on our Facebook group page and said, if he owns the Bears, he has to play. No, he doesn't. No, he doesn't have to do anything. Now, do you want also Aaron Rodgers, banged up as he is, to play at Soldier Field? That's a horrible place to play football. I mean, the field conditions there are basically, that's I think the diagnosis of 3/4 of the injuries in the NFL. Cause of injury, Soldier Field. Okay, like, do you really want that guy to go out there on that field? And it could be cold as shit in Chicago too, man. This is where you got to suck it up, Packer fans. And I know it's hard because Aaron's our quarterback. Well, what happens when somebody else is? Okay, because that's going to happen too. He's not going to live forever.
This happened, as you mentioned, not that long ago, 15 years ago or whatever it was. Brett Favre was our quarterback.
Yes, until he wasn't.
And who's this Aaron Rodgers kid? Why do we draft this kid? He's going to suck. This isn't going to work. And then look what happened, right? So this is how this works. This is the natural maturation process. You got to give Jordan Love a shot. And again, that brief little sample that we saw, he looked pretty good. I was kind of excited to see it. He can move around a little bit. He's got a good arm. He's been sitting behind Aaron Rodgers long enough to kind of pick up some things, I would think, which I actually think Aaron sitting behind Brett Favre helped him a lot more than maybe he'll ever admit. I think that was actually a very good situation And a lot of times you get quarterbacks that get drafted and they get thrown right into the fire and it doesn't work and they get burnt on it, right? Because they lose their confidence. Confidence has a lot to do with playing that position. And when you lose that confidence, you become less effective. And I think you're kind of seeing that. Well, I was thinking about that with Matt Ryan last night. There's a few guys that are able to move from team to team and still be effective. A guy like Russell Wilson's a good example of that being the case of it not working. But like Tom Brady's is rare exception. It's not very often you're able to move from team to team and have the same success because you have to get reacclimated to everything. And there's a confidence situation in the way you're coached and all of those different things. Russell Wilson, for example, I think Pete Carroll is a huge benefit to him emotionally and as far as a coach goes, on and off the field, and I think he misses that. I think you're seeing a similar thing with Matt Ryan have a little bit of a trouble. It's not necessarily an easy thing to do. And so, switching around like that can be very, very difficult.
Well, especially as you get older and older. I mean, you mentioned Tom Brady. Peyton Manning had similar success going to Denver, going to 2 Super Bowls, winning one.
Exactly.
Joe Montana made it to an AFC championship game with the Kansas City Chiefs, didn't win it, but made it. And Matt Ryan, he just looks like he is he looks like he is done. I mean, absolutely.
Like he's lost a little bit.
Looks like he's done. I mean, he looks like he is like his career is over. And that's not what it looks like for Rodgers. So I don't want to say that because I watched Rodgers play this year. And as much criticism as we give him, fair, because when he does great, we have to heap the praise on him too. But we also have to call it as we see it when it's not good. But he still looks like he's got something left in the tank. What I will say about just going back to Jordan Love is something that I saw in that Jets game versus the Bears. Zach Wilson was trying to be the star of the show in New York, right? He was trying to be the guy that made the throws, that made the plays, that made the team win. I feel that sometimes Rodgers has that mentality still, as opposed to what Mike White did and what he talked about of the New York Jets in his post-game press conference. Look, the guys that are playing on this team are all professionals and they're very good. Go let them do what they're going to do. Let the wide receivers catch the ball in a place where they can do something with it. These are athletes, some of the top athletes in the world. Aaron doesn't have to do it all by himself. Now, you can't get Zach Wilson and Rodgers and compare them because one's got a Super Bowl and has got a Hall of Fame career. But the point is, there is an I think, reliance on Rodgers to be that guy, and he doesn't have to be. That's kind of what I thought Matt LaFleur and his offense was supposed to do for Rodgers, take that burden away from him so that he didn't have to be that guy. But it feels more to me, and this is just my personal feeling, that he still wants that. He still wants it to be all on him. And part of what I don't like about Rodgers playing this Sunday, guys, and the reason that I'm going to stay on this particular narrative is because I don't want to have to watch the Aaron Rodgers show of grimaces and hard looks. I don't want this guy to be all about that, because what Jordan Love is right now, an able-bodied American football player that can come in and give you whatever he's got. What the Packers don't need is more of this worrying about, oh no, Aaron looks upset. I didn't catch the ball in the right spot. I only got 8 yards as opposed to 10. Is he looking at me? Is he hurt? I mean, this is something that if you're the Green Bay Packers, you don't need right now. You need to figure out which of these guys is going to be here next year. And,
that's not to mention, they've got bigger problems. They've got a defense that is porous as all get out.
Yes.
And that's a huge problem. And they need to establish a run game. If they establish their run game and play better defense, they're going to be in these games and they're going to be able to win some of these games. Doesn't matter who the quarterback is, not to mention their special teams issues. So, there's holes all over this team. It's not just at quarterback, but I think in this situation here, you've got an injured asset, again, $100 million asset. Sit him down for as long as you need to. If that's the rest of the season, it is what it is. If he needs to go have surgery, go have surgery. You get Jordan Love in there, get him some playing time. Again, the Bears game, I don't think it really matters if they win or lose. If you put Jordan Love in there, it'll really be just about how he plays.
Yes.
If they end up winning the game, great. But even if they lose and he looks good, I think you win, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. And at some point, like we talked about earlier, and if you're just jumping aboard now, good morning. At some point, the Green Bay Packers have to figure out what they have with Love. And this isn't like something that they can hide from the rest of the NFL. We can say a lot by not saying something. And, you've got a perfect out here. If you're the Green Bay Packers, you've got a perfect out. And this is easy to explain. You don't have to worry about hurting anybody's feelings. Now,
who cares anyway?
Well, apparently Matt LaFleur does, because he's just, I don't know, if Aaron feels like he should go out and play, then I just want him to go out and play. Well, if you were the head coach, and this is this morning's poll question, if you were the head coach, what would you do? Go to our Twitter feed at the Sports Carney, our Facebook group page, the Sports Carnival, and let us know your thoughts. Matt Janus, UWL head football coach, will be joining us coming up around the bend here on the Sports Carnival. Stick around. Now more than ever, if you're looking to buy or sell your first home or perhaps an investment property, you need a full-time dedicated real estate agent who is up to date on all the latest trends and analysis and is ready to give you the kind of service that you deserve. That's why the official real estate agent and the official real estate partner of the Sports Carnival is Kyle Cable of One Trust Real Estate. Whether you're looking to buy or sell your first home or perhaps you are a seasoned investor, call the official real estate agent partner of the Sports Carnival, Kyle Cable of One Trust Real Estate. Preferred Insurance is the official auto, home, business, flood, and life insurance agency of the Sports Carnival, serving folks in La Crosse and surrounding areas with licenses in Wisconsin, Minnesota, and Iowa. As an independent insurance agency, Preferred Insurance is free to find the very best insurance for you, your family, or your business needs. Call my friends at Preferred Insurance today and set up a free consultation. Remember, working with an independent agency means Preferred Insurance works for you, with you, to find the best solutions at the best prices.
Hello, I am Don Francisco, and I roast and blend coffees for your pleasure and mine. My newest blend is Vanilla Nuts. The coffee so rich and so sweet, it tastes like the French Alps has dangled its in your cup of java. If you love coffee like I do, then you'll love Don Francisco's with a 135-year tradition. Because at Don Francisco's, if you're up all night, so are we.
Back to the Sports Carnival, broadcasting live from the Trauma Center studios. Whoever coined the phrase "quiet as a mouse" has apparently never stepped on one. Who's your host? Dave Carney.
Oh my God. So living out in the what I wouldn't call the straight sticks, but let's call it suburban, if you will. And that's being very generous to the village of Stoddard. My cat has done a lot of playing with meese. Dude, those things scream. It's almost like Jodie Foster in Silence of the Lambs. And, you know, Hannibal Lecter's asked, do you still hear the lambs at night? I still hear the bunnies and the mice sometimes because, dude, the skipper he's a terrorist. He does his job, right? He's supposed to keep mice and all of that stuff out of our garage and out of our house, which is great, but still, it's kind of horrifying a little bit.
What's his name? Skipper
or Skip the Loge or Skip Loader. There's a lot of different names.
Your cat's name is Skipper.
Yeah, one of them.
Okay.
Yeah,
well, you got more than one cat.
I have two cats.
Wow.
You know I'm all about that.
One of those guys.
Well, I've got a dog too.
Okay, so it balances out. Okay, that's fine.
We balance out. If you're just joining the program, welcome aboard. I'm Dave. He is Chad. We are broadcasting the Sports Carnival live from the Trauma Center studios, coast to coast, powered by the Recovery Room. Do not forget, tomorrow night, maybe this is the first you've heard this, 6 to 10 p.m., we are at the Recovery Room, and we're going to watch the Bucks play the Knicks. We're going to see who wins a pair of Bucks tickets to go and see the Bucks play the Kings on the 7th of December. Now, if you do not win the tickets, you are still in the running for a load of incredible prizes, a TV, a 43-inch TV, cash, and a bunch of swag, Chad, from our partners at Absolute Vodka and Jameson Irish Whiskey. And as we get ready for Matt Janus to join the program, he comes up right now. I was going to say, put up one of the slides that we've got, but we'll get back to that later because I just want to make sure that we remind our audience members what we have coming up again and again and again and again because, well, that's just what we have to do. We have to pound this thing in to their brains until they can't do anything but come and see us tomorrow at the Recovery Room. Matt Janus, you're not in season right now, and I know that you're busy as all get out, but what do we think if we were to gauge the chances, the percentage chances that you and possibly a couple of the coaches would come and visit us at the Recovery Room tomorrow night for some revelry and celebration of Eagles football, while we're also seeing who's going to win a pair of tickets to the Bucks and the Kings?
We might have to look into that, Dave. We might have to text. We might text. Kind of go back and forth on that.
I like this.
I'm going to have to get down there soon. I know that.
I think that's a yes. That sounds like a yes.
I know that for sure.
That sounds like a yes. That sounds like a yes to me. I think that's. Did you see that? I think he's wavering to yes here.
This is a hard thing for a coach, and I know this for a fact because I've known a lot of coaches. Once the season ends, the wives say, no, you've been gone for a long time. You're coming back to me. Let me ask you, Matt, because last week on the show, you were hitting the recruiting trail right after the loss against Wartburg, which, as tough as that was, you had things to do. You had to get back to work. And like you said, it's kind of a mental, it's kind of a mental reprieve because you just have to dive right back in. How much time have you been able to spend at home? Has this been a little bit of at least a time for you to take some reflection and some relaxation and spend it with the kids and the wife?
Well, I think I've already annoyed my wife. I think she's like, actually, you're actually here too much now. Like, we're good. Yeah. Like, we got this whole thing figured out. You just kind of throw a wrench in everything by being around all the time, and you're bothering everybody. So, but no, yeah, we get to. We're kind of back. Obviously, kind of, we don't go crazy on the road this month. We're trying to, spend a lot of time trying to get guys onto campus. And obviously, with school in session, we want to bring them here. There's a lot of guys that, we've been talking to throughout the season that they couldn't make a game day for whatever reason, and now it's like, hey, we want they're getting ready to go. They've applied. They're kind of done all the right steps. So now we're just kind of really for the next 3 weeks here. It's almost a visit every day.
So I want to offer my services, and this is something I hadn't thought of doing, but if you ever need like a hype man when these guys are coming on to campus or whatever, and they're getting ready to, I don't know where you take them first or whatever it is that you do.
WWE style, is that what you're saying?
Exactly. And Chad, you know this because I don't know how many games you've seen me do that thing at, but enough to know that, Matt, we would blow the doors off of this. These kids would never have heard anything like this. So if you need that, I'm your hucklebearer. Okay, you just let me know.
I think we use you like a prop, right? We just station you like every part of the visit. You just start screaming and yelling and cheering.
I'm with it, man. I was playing bingo with your UWL softball pitching coach last night, Ethan Giese, and we're all about the U. I'm telling you what, this area, Chad, has just become all about the University of Wisconsin lacrosse, and there's just so many good reasons to be a fan. The basketball team right now is number 4 in the country. Number 4 in the country, and Coach Sternbach's done a great job with them. Softball was really good last year. Baseball's been great. Track and field, swim. The whole university is on a high. I want to ask you about your grading process, though, because Chad and I were talking about this before we got on today. You've had a week or so to assess the whole season, 9-2, a second consecutive trip to the postseason. What kind of grades are you giving out to the coaching staff, to the players this year, if you can share that? And then what do you think you guys need to really look to improve next year to continue not just what you've done now, but take that next step and get back to the national championship?
Yeah, I think if it's a grade, I don't know, I'd give everybody an A. Like I would. Like I think, what we've done here over the last, couple of years is, our vision here was always about 2 numbers. It's about 34-4, right? Our 34th conference title and our 4th national championship. And that's what's driving the boat in everything that we do. And, this year we were able to change the numbers. So now it is, now as I go into this recruiting class and I talk about, I want guys to choose this place because they want to win football games, because that's what we need them to do. We need you to come here because you want to play in massive games and you want to win big time football games. And so I want guys that want to come here to continue to change that number. Right. And so the next class I'm talking is 36-5. And we just keep going up with that vision. So we were able as a coaching staff and as a team to change that number just in 2 years. That was the vision I set forth from day one. We were able to do that in 2 years. So that's pretty special when we had a group of coaches and players that were committed to that. And then I think, from our standpoint of what we need to do better going forward here, like I told the staff, what we're doing is working, and that is proven. And now it's about finding those, maybe one more player that's going to change. Because really, if you look at our schedule, if you look at, we've gone 18-5 over the last 2 years now. And if you look at those 5 losses and who they're to, they're all close games, and they're to top 10 opponents, and one of them was a top 5 opponent in Division II in Grand Valley State. So we're in all these games. We're doing all the right things. We just got to find that one play here and there. And for like in our last game against Warp, we just couldn't find it. We just couldn't get it. We felt we were chipping away. We were trying to break those runs. We kind of kept going 5-5. We could never get that 15-yard run. We can never get that 20-yard run to break. So it's just really about finding those kind of couple plays here as we move forward. But what we're doing, I truly believe works. The vision that our staff has pushed forward has worked with recruits. And then, on top of it, it hasn't been just about football games here. And that's what I think sets us apart from all other programs in Division III, probably even college football. Like we preach our culture to guys. Our culture is the experience. And that's really, it's centered around the college experience. And I think you guys can relate to that, and, how special and how meaningful and impactful that these years are, that our guys are a part of, and how much fun they should be, right? Like these college years should be fun. And I don't want our guys' lives to just be dictated by, oh, you go to the weight room, you go to class, and then you go to practice, and that's all you do for 4 years. Like, to me, that's boring. And I love football, and football is my passion, and it's my livelihood. But there's so much more to this college experience, and I want them to have a full experience where they meet a bunch of new people, where they have a bunch of fun, where they try new things, where they figure out what their passions are, and that's really what our culture is about. And in order to have that culture, right, Dave? Like, and this, Dave, like, you need a place to supplement that, right? Like, I can't just say come have the college experience and be in the middle of nowhere. Like, lacrosse is the experience to me. Like, and I've been around to different places. Like, I know lacrosse is the experience, and that's what we have there. Whether it's you want a top 10 football team, whether you want a top 15 public university and you want high academic, you're gonna have that, or whether you want an awesome city to be a part of in a top 20 college town. Like, the city of La Crosse gives you that. University of La Crosse gives you, Wisconsin La Crosse gives you all that stuff. So, like I said, with our vision and with our culture to drive off that, we're going to keep moving forward with this program.
Man, I'm so sold on being this hype man, guys. I'm stoked. You've got me fucking fired up. This is so great. And, Chad, because you haven't been here, it might be hard for you to kind of get the whole feel, because this is something that truly, if you don't come to this area, if you don't spend time in the Cooley region and see what UWL is and is all about with this city, it's almost hard to fathom, because we don't look at a town of, or a city, I should say, of 50,000 and expect it to be like that. But with the students in town, the vibrancy is always there. I think the city leaders, Matt, along with the university, have done an incredible job the 6 years that I've been here in really promoting the university in a way that showcases the experience. And like you've mentioned, it's not just athletics, it's the whole entire package. To that end, let me ask you one more question. As a head coach, what's your other favorite UWL team right now to go watch? Do you have one that when you're not coaching, or when you guys get a break and you get to go see, because there are so many great teams right now, who's your favorite to go watch right now?
Well, right now, mine and our daughter, she's a big pusher on this too, is the men's basketball team.
Nice.
I just one, I think they have some phenomenal players. I mean, their players are studs. But I just love watching Coach Dernbach. I love watching him coach. I love the drive that he has. He is constantly chasing perfection. Always. He's never in a comfort zone. He never, takes his foot off the gas. It is a constant drive. And, I feel very close with that program too, because I feel, in some ways our rise has kind of come together, where Coach Dernbach was able to take over, and then you saw postseason bursts, you saw success, you saw that very similar to kind of, if you look at the timeline and kind of match them up, we've kind of gone through that all together, at kind of the same time. So I just love watching him coach. I love watching those guys play.
Well, I can't wait to go to a game. The next home game for the Eagles, is coming up on Saturday. I know that they're on the road and then they come back home. Mitchell Hall, they'll be back on Saturday. I believe they play Whitewater also coming up this week. Is that correct? Or they're on the road at Whitewater, I think.
Are they? I haven't looked at the schedule through the weekend. I know they're home on the 3rd here.
Yeah, home on the 3rd.
I didn't look at who they play.
Well, it's a great team, like you mentioned. Coach Sternbach's doing an awesome job. I was really happy to talk to him previously when I was on my different platform, and I want to get him onto this program too, because this Eagles team is flying high. And to that end, we're just always so grateful to have you on the show, man. I appreciate you as always, and thanks to all the members of the football team, staff, the coaches, everybody. You guys are just, you're so great to us, and we just love having you on.
Oh, I love coming on. Sorry, I was a few minutes late here.
Hey, no problem.
I got stuck watching a kid on Huddle, and so that's my fault. I lost track of time. So thank you guys for having me. I appreciate it, and go Eagles.
Go Eagles.
Thanks, Coach.
The official mortgage team of the Sports Carnival is the Midwest mortgage team of Land Home Financial, my good buddies Mike Garcia and Todd Vercruzzi. Listen, we all know the mortgage industry is in a bit of an upheaval right now, and that's why it's more important than ever to go to a couple of guys that you can trust, a local operation right here in La Crosse. That is the Midwest mortgage team. Again, Michael Garcia and Todd Vercruzzi of Land Home Financial. Don't make a mistake with your mortgage needs. Go to the official mortgage provider of the Sports Carnival, the Midwest mortgage team, Mike Garcia and Todd Vercruzzi.
Do you have a wedding, anniversary party, or bat mitzvah coming up in your life? Then you need Hey Duda DJ Services, featuring Neil Duda, the Midwest Eminem.
No doubt about it, I'm hammered, and that's every day. Brains are cloudy, dog.
Dropping sick beats while you enjoy your treats. No party is too big or too small. Quinceañeras, graduations, ice cream socials, or cocktail parties. Whatever the celebration, Hey Duda is rocking the foundation.
Here we go again, back with all our friends. Here comes the pain.
Neil Duda.
Back to the action live from the Trauma Center studios. This is the Sports Carnival, dropping a little Homer Simpson quote for you. Trying is the first step towards failure. Here's your host, Dave Carney.
Oh, boy, that's awesome. Homer Simpson, one of my favorite literary geniuses of all time. Actually, Chad, you know, I was a huge Simpsons fan from 1988 till about 1996. And I hear that they still produce new programs. This is something that I have heard. They still produce new programs. Think about that.
Yeah.
I'm as old as I am. I'm going to let you do the math on that. So I was watching this in 1988 until 1996. And after that point, I kind of lost interest in it. I watched the Simpsons movie, which I thought was really good. I thought the Simpsons movie had some really funny stuff in it. But then I just, you know, how long can you watch the same cartoon family do the same stuff over and over? And I realize it's an iconic show, and I'm not trying to besmirch the legacy of the Simpsons.
No, you're right. You're right.
The effectiveness of this, I think, is it has waned. And when Matt Groening lost all of his writers during that writer's strike back in the day, that was kind of it. I mean, he still does a decent cartoon, I suppose, but I don't know.
I don't tune in. I don't honestly know. I remember watching the first time I watched it. I was watching the Tracy Ullman show.
That's what I'm saying.
That's where it debuted.
Yes.
And then the voices was everything was completely different.
Oh, it was awful.
The animation was horrible. But yeah, those first couple seasons were pretty good. And I would say it probably jumped the shark in the early 90s. I agree with you.
Yeah, I'd say mid to even late 90s. There were a lot of good years of that because the political satire was just, it was so fast, and it was before its time, right? There wasn't Comedy Central. You had to fit everything into a really neat national television box. I just remember one time the car, the Simpsons car, the family car is passing by the church where Reverend Lovejoy was holding court. And one of the letters on the signs was down. And it was just something, if you didn't see it in the moment, you would have had no idea what it was meaning. But instead of what a friend we have in God, what a fiend we have in God, it was so quick that you had to sit back and applaud because you're like, man, that's fast. And if you weren't looking for it, you didn't see it.
Wow.
Now, well, it was original. It was, I thought, very well done.
No, subliminal. I said
subliminal and original at the same time. I feel like now we could be like DJ Neil Duda and start a rap. Subliminal. It's almost criminal. DJ Neil Duda.
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll see if Neil can do something else with that. Hey, because we've still got 12, 13 minutes left on the program here, I want to make sure that we do a lot of reminding of tomorrow night, Chad, over at the Recovery Room. 6 to 10 p.m. We've got a slide that also has some info about the Badgers basketball game coming up against Wake Forest tonight. But just reminding you, tomorrow from 6 to 10 p.m. over at the Recovery Room. Who knows? We may even be seeing Matt Janus and some of the members of the Eagles coaching staff over there with us. But we're going to give you a shot to win a pair of Bucks tickets to a game on December the 7th. The Bucks and the Kings will be playing. We'll watch the Bucks take on the Knicks tomorrow night starting at 6:30 when the game tips off. But if you don't win the tickets, I don't want you to fret. There are so many other prizes that could be yours, including a 43-inch TV, $200 in cash, and loads, Chad, of swag from our friends at Absolute Vodka and Jameson Irish Whiskey. So if you've got plans for tomorrow, cancel them. Come to the Recovery Room, 6 to 10 p.m. You do not need to be present to win, which is another important thing. We will announce here on the program Thursday morning who did win those Bucks tickets. So come on down, see us, get yourself a registration or two, because Wednesday is double entries. So every shot or cocktail that you have of Absolute or Jameson, or one that's got that in it, is going to give you double entries. It's going to be a totally fun experience. And if it's the first time that you've been to the recovery room or you haven't been in a while, you got to get down there, because it's going to be a party. It really will.
Yeah, and Bucks Kings should be a good game.
It should be a
good game to go to. Yeah.
Should be a great game. The Kings are playing
Kings a little bit better than expected. Yeah.
They are. And De'Aaron Fox is, I think, one of those players coming out of Kentucky. Had he not gotten passed over by Magic Johnson for Lonzo Ball, would be a superstar right now, because he would have played for the Lakers. But the fact that he plays for the Kings means that he doesn't get the national media attention that he probably deserves. Sacramento's got some players. Dominique Sabonis, Arvydas Sabonis' son, who was an all-star, I believe, for Indiana. He's on that team now. Listen, there are some dudes on that Kings team that are really fun to watch. And again, you can go to the game on December the 7th, but you got to get over to the recovery room tomorrow night between 6 to 10 p.m. and have some fun. This evening, Chad, we've also got a Wisconsin Badger basketball game I wanted to talk about just briefly, because Wisconsin, I don't know if you watched the game on Thanksgiving. I didn't. I was en route to the Breachers Farm, so I didn't see Wisconsin narrowly lose to Kansas by a point in overtime. But I did catch the Badgers play against USC, at least a part of that game. And the Badgers, surprisingly to me, were able to beat a USC team that's still got like a lot of talent on that team, including the other Mobley brother. So you've got Evan and whatever. So the other Mobley twin still plays for USC. One of them's in the NBA and plays for Cleveland. That USC team is tough. And this Wisconsin Badger team now is off to a 5-1 start. Wake Forest has got some players, but I'm really impressed with how Wisconsin's been able to put together this season so far. Jordan Davis, Johnny Davis's twin brother, who didn't go to the NBA with Johnny last year, Chad, is currently 5th on the team in scoring. He's a lacrosse native, went to Lacrosse Central, 6.7 points a game and 4.5 rebounds. That's good for 3rd on the team. Tyler Wall is a kid that's really stepping up for Wisconsin, averaging 14 and shooting about 38% from behind the arc. So this Badger team, better than I expected. They always play really smart basketball, because that's what Greg Gard and what Bo Ryan did, install like a really smart offense. But I like them tonight versus Wake Forest. I don't know if I like them minus 5.5 points. However, when I was looking into some of the metrics here, because I nailed my bets last night once again, when I was looking into some of the metrics, the Badgers are 4-0 against the spread in their last 4 games versus a team with a winning record above 600, which the Wake Forest team and Deacons are. The Badgers are 4-0, Chad, against the spread in their last 4 games versus a team with the winning record straight up. They're 5-1 against the spread in their last 6 games overall. And not that this really matters, but it's anecdotal. The Badgers are 5-1 against the spread in their last 6 Tuesday games. Like I say, that doesn't really matter, but it's still something to throw out there. It's a hot trend. Wisconsin looks like they could be a team to bet on tonight. I don't know if I'm necessarily going to take Wisconsin minus the points, but I might throw them into a teaser, because that's what I did last night. I had an NBA 2-team 4-point teaser, and that cashed.
Yeah, I was just going to say, if you're going to tease it, what are you teasing it?
Well, I would tease that probably with another play. So there's a Kentucky game tonight. They're giving up 25.5 points. I have to go back over and see who they're playing. There's a couple of different college games. Marquette is actually getting 6.5 points tonight. That's a play that I may make. I've watched Marquette a time or two. The problem with college basketball and me is this: when I'm in NFL season and then the NBA is taking my interest with the Bucks, it is. And I can only watch so much. There's only so much that I can really do and consume in a day. So I haven't gotten a great feeling yet for college basketball. So I hesitate to make plays on this.
Well,
with the NBA, I'm all in. So I've got that.
I do think there is an advantage as a bettor early in the season of college football and college basketball with mid-major teams, because I don't think they spend enough time focusing on that, the books especially, and there's just too many games and not enough time to watch enough film. I don't think they get an accurate assessment necessarily. So I think there is a bit of an advantage early on, especially in college football and college basketball, with these mid-majors, after about a first couple of weeks, it seems to me anyway.
You know what? You're right on. And there's another opportunity that lurks out there with WNBA basketball. Don't laugh, but Chad, we used to see guys at Jerry's Nugget in Las Vegas. All right, Chad and I used to do
the only way to make that interesting is to gamble on it.
Well, exactly, and that's one of the reasons that we do what we do. But Chad, you and I used to see guys that made, good money betting WNBA basketball because, again, it's not so much that these sports are not relevant. It's that what you said is the truer point. There's only so much time for each of these odds makers to really even in their best efforts to figure out and gauge all of these games. Plus, many of the games get little to no action on it because of the very same reasons. And so therefore they're not really exposed. But if you can figure out like a really good mid-major conference, and this is something that John Denton, our sports
focus on a conference, yes.
If you find one of those conferences, drill that conference, really dial that one in, you're going to have a better shot. That's why for me, when it comes to betting in college football and college basketball particularly, I'll bet Big Ten because I watch the Big Ten more. Not that it's a mid-major, and yes, I realize there's a lot of eyeballs, but I've got a better feel for what those teams are all about. I know that you put this bug up here, but I want to hit this again. Maddie from the recovery room did said if we're hungry, he's putting out some pizzas throughout the party starting at 6:30. That's unbelievable because, Chad, again, the recovery room, not just my favorite bar, but also my favorite restaurant in the entire city, has some of the best pizza like ever. It's fantastic. Not thick crust, but it's thin crust, all fresh toppings put on right there. I mean, it's a really good pizza. So, Matt, thank you very much for that. Love this.
I don't know if you wanted me to throw this up, but I figured I would. So this is Dave's plays.
Yesterday, I gave a daily play, which we haven't been giving out every single day because there's been some that we just haven't really found anything to bet on. But yeah, my play yesterday was a 2-team NBA teaser, a 4-point teaser, and I took totals on the Lakers and the Pacers, the Nets and the Magic. Both of these would have come in without the tease, but listen, I don't care because I'll give up some profit to guarantee myself a restful night and a win if I can. You can never guarantee a win. But what I did in this particular strategy point, Chad, was look at the two totals and say, all right, if I can juice this a bit and add 4 points onto it, which an NBA teaser works much like an NFL teaser, the numbers are just a bit different. If I can juice the totals here, do I feel confident that both of these teams come in under? Well, I knew that Brooklyn was coming in off of a game in which, they had just recently routed somebody. The Magic are just not a team that scores. This felt like a good play. It was a close and it was a tight game. So I'm glad that I did tease this 4 points so that it could go under 228.5. The Lakers and the Pacers, that turned out to be like one of the more exciting games of the night. I didn't see it. Saw the Pacers rookie, somebody I've never heard of, hit a 3-pointer on LeBron James to give the Pacers a 1-point victory. So the Lakers nearly had that one, but lost. The total 241.5 felt really, really comfortable for me to go under, and I did. So I didn't win as much as I would have if I would have taken these games straight or even on a parlay, but I did win. And that's really the important part for me. It's not necessarily about how much, it's just that it happened, right?
You didn't win, but you won.
I won enough, and that's where I don't need to be greedy. If I can just stack up little wins day by day, then I feel like I'm really building to something. And we'll just kind of leave with this. Building to something is what we're doing here on the Sports Carnival. And for all of our supporters, the O'Neill Law Firm, Sean O'Neill, Joe Sampson and Helping Hands Landscaping, Kyle Cable, One Trust Real Estate, Matt and Ashley at the Recovery Room, Preferred Insurance, Tony Rausa and Brian Sandmeyer, and of course, Todd Vercruzzi, the Coos, and Mike Garcia. Guys, you've been incredible in our journey to get this thing going. We've got a new partner, and we're hoping that we've got everything set up before Thursday Night Football. BetUS is now going to be the official sports betting partner of the Sports Carnival. This is something that Chad and I have been in the works with for some time, and we're now getting to the point where we can roll out our official Sports Carnival promo code. We will have that again before Thursday Night Football. This is something that I'm super excited about, Chad. We worked with BetUS here in Western Wisconsin before, and now you're going to get a new promo code. This is going to be a way for our audience members to really do what they love, which is bet on games, in-game, live in-game action, NFL, college football, NBA, whatever, and also support the program. So do what you're doing anyways, but do it with our partners at BetUS. And like I've mentioned, we will give you a promo code before Thursday Night Football. Our account manager is working with this diligently. There was a lot of logistics to figure out, but we're finally here. And for those that have been the supporters of this program as we have been ramping up to this point. Again, guys, gals, this is a lot of thanks to you because we wouldn't have got here without your help.
And we're helping make the WNBA watchable.
Thank you.
This is what we're really doing. This is our real goal. How to make the WNBA watchable. Bet yes.
I don't know if there's a better way to end off the show than that. Making the WNBA great. Not again, but for the first time. Have a great day, guys. Don't forget, tomorrow night, we're partying at the Recovery Room. I'll remind you all day.